holiday, but that year it carried a weight I hadn't felt before. My name is Emily Carter, and I grew up in a small town in Ohio where snow blanketed the ground every December, where carolers walked down Main Street, and where families hung wreaths with care on their front doors. Yet, as much as Christmas was supposed to bring joy, it also reminded me of the cracks in my family that I could no longer ignore. I was 27, single, and working as a nurse at the local hospital. My shifts were long and draining, especially during the holidays when emergencies seemed to multiply. Patients without families became my responsibility, and I gave them what comfort I could. But this Christmas Eve, after 12 hours of comforting strangers, I felt emptier than ever. I drove home to my parents' house, headlights reflecting on snowflakes swirling in the night. My mom, Linda, had decorated everything as she always did, twinkling lights wrapped around the porch, candles glowing in the windows, and the smell of cinnamon drifting out to greet me. Inside, my family was gathered. My dad, John, was at the fireplace tending to logs. My younger sister, Amanda, was curled on the couch with her fiancé, talking about their wedding plans. And then there was Ryan, my older brother by 2 years. We hadn't spoken much that year. Not because of any fight, but because life had pulled us in different directions. He worked long hours in the city as a software engineer, and I had buried myself in hospital shifts. When he looked up at me from the armchair, a tired smile stretched across his face. He said softly, using the nickname only he ever called me. I nodded, forcing a smile, and took off my coat. Something inside me wanted to run into his arms and cry, but I held myself back. The truth was, Ryan and I used to be inseparable as kids. He had always been my protector, the one who taught me how to ride a bike, who stayed up late when I had nightmares, who never let me feel alone. But as adults, we had drifted apart. I missed him more than I ever admitted. Christmas Eve dinner was filled with laughter and chatter. My mom made her famous roast chicken, mashed potatoes, and pecan pie. I tried to laugh along with everyone, but the heaviness inside me wouldn't leave. When dinner ended, we exchanged small gifts, opened stockings, and sang carols. By midnight, the house grew quiet. Amanda went upstairs with her fiancé, my parents went to bed, and I stayed in the living room by the glowing tree, staring at the ornaments I had hung as a child. That's when I felt it, a gentle nudge on my shoulder. I turned and saw Ryan standing there, holding 2 mugs of hot cocoa. His eyes softened as he handed me one. Couldn't sleep, he asked. I shook my head. Too much on my mind. He sat beside me on the couch, the heat from his mug sending steam into the air. We sat in silence for a while, the kind of silence that was comfortable, yet heavy with unspoken words. Finally, he nudged me again with his shoulder, just like he used to do when we were kids. Talk to me, he said quietly. What's really going on? And in that moment, something inside me broke. I told him everything. How exhausted I was from my job, how lonely I felt, how watching Amanda prepare for her wedding made me question my own life. I confessed that I sometimes felt invisible, even in a room full of people. My voice trembled as tears slipped down my cheeks. Ryan listened. Really listened. He didn't interrupt, didn't dismiss my feelings. He just let me pour it all out until my chest felt lighter. Then he placed his hand gently over mine. You've always carried more than anyone else realizes. You take care of everyone, your patients, mom and dad, even Amanda, but who's taking care of you? His words struck me harder than I expected. I shrugged, embarrassed. No one, I guess. He shook his head firmly. That's not true. I've failed at being there for you this past year, but I'm here now. You don't have to go through life alone, Emily. You have me. Always. Something shifted in me right then. That small nudge on Christmas night, the way he made me look at myself differently, it changed everything. I realized I didn't need to have my life perfectly figured out. I didn't need a ring on my finger to feel worthy. I had family, I had love, and I had strength inside me I'd forgotten. We stayed up until 3 in the morning, talking about childhood memories, laughing until our stomachs hurt, and planning to see each other more often in the new year. For the first time in months, I felt at peace. The next morning, Christmas Day, I woke to the smell of pancakes and the sound of carols. But what filled me most was the warmth of knowing I wasn't alone. Sometimes the smallest gestures, the nudge of a shoulder, a shared mug of cocoa, a listening ear, can change a life more than grand gestures ever could. That Christmas night, Ryan reminded me that family wasn't just about being related by blood. It was about showing up, about nudging someone back when they've drifted too far, about holding onto the bond that distance and time could never truly erase. And from that moment on, I promised myself that no matter how busy or tired I became, I would never let that bond fade again. Because sometimes everything can change with just one nudge.